On part 1 of this episode of The Grow Wire Show, we heard about Samantha Ettus' early years as a tennis player and how that gave her the discipline she needed to make it through Harvard Business School. As one of the few female graduates from her Harvard MBA class, Samantha Ettus set out to take on the business world. Her talent agency and best-selling book would soon take the market by storm. You're watching The Grow Wire Show.
You know, there were a lot of CEOs who'd come through Harvard Business School, and very few were charismatic. And I thought, what about the ones that are charismatic? Like, how do they decide what speeches to do and what press to do?
Right.
So I was just intrigued by them, and I thought, what if I could have a talent agency that represented those people, and we were very specific about who we represented, and we represented them on their speeches and their branding and their board involvements. And so I was always really obsessed with people and just who they were and what motivated them and getting people's stories. And so for me, personal branding was a way to help people shape their own stories.
Got it.
So I ended up mostly representing corporate people, but there were still those people, like the chef that I thought was gonna be the next Rachel Ray. Like, I wanted those people as my clients too. So I came up with this idea for a book. It ended up being called The Expert's Guide to 100 Things Everyone Should Know How to Do. And I approached this agent. I said to her, I have this book idea where we do sort of a cliff notes on multiple experts' areas of expertise. So it would be Bobby Flay on how to barbecue and Susie Orman on how to save money and so on. She's like, that's a great idea. Why don't you get 10 experts on board and then we'll pitch it. So I got my first 10 experts. I cold called them, got them. I got 4 of them to write chapters for me for the proposal. And she started a bidding war for the book, and Random House bought it. And I ended up cold calling all, except for Cory Booker, he was my one friend. All of the rest of the people in the book were cold calls, and they each wrote a chapter. So.
Wow. When you're cold calling these people, what do you think it is about you that made them go, I want to work with this woman. I'm in, I'll write the chapter.
I had no fear, and I also felt like what's the worst thing I could do is say no, and then I'll just ask again.
And just like that, Samantha had a bestseller on her hands. And that opened the door for another 3-book deal. For her next book, she decided to return to her roots working with people, taking notice that they all had a common problem.
When I was working with my clients, there was always this elephant in the room. So for one of my CEOs, it was marital problems. For one of my Olympic athletes, it was financial issues. And one of my chefs, it was parenting issues. Like, there was always something personal that was preventing them from achieving their potential professionally. And when I looked into it, I realized, I'd been in this sort of business of picking experts for so long. And when I looked at it, there was not one expert who was focused on work-life. And at the same time, I saw a lot of my classmates from Harvard Business School dropping out of the workforce.
Yeah.
And I thought, what's going on here? Like, these really talented, educated women are dropping out. What's happening? And what I realized is that women have really no healthy framework for how to think about work and life.
Join us on part 3 of this episode of The Grow Wire Show as Samantha talks about the challenges of work-life balance in corporate America.
I see companies all the time lose amazing female talent because they won't offer them 1 day a week at home.
Yeah.
It's just crazy.
Yeah.